What's going on, guys? So apparently, I had a very unpopular opinion on the F91. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So I'm a big enough person to admit if I've made a mistake. And yesterday, doing the F91 review, I definitely made a couple mistakes. But I'm also not one to really repeal my opinion of something. So I had apparently a very polarizing opinion on the F91 2.0, and well, it was definitely based off of the kit that I was looking at. Now, going back, the very first Master Grade Monday of this year was in fact the original F91 Master Grade, and it was borrowed from Nick. And if you go back and watch that review, which will be linked up here, I actually went into that, one, just a little bit frustrated on the fact that I had to kind of finish the kit for him, had to clean up nubs, had to do panel lining, stuff like that. I had to finish the kit because he wasn't there. Like, he had lost the passion for things. He was going through some stuff, and you guys can see it. I've reviewed several kits from him back to back, and none of them were really done to 100%. And, you know, so each one, already I went into it with a little bit of negative feelings. But when it came to that kit, while it had its flaws, a lot of them based off of 2006 engineering, I liked it. I actually came off of it with positive outlook. I was like happy about it. I was like, I actually like this thing. I really kind of wish I had built it. I said it in the thing. I wish I had built this. And, you know, maybe I look forward to actually getting it. And knowing then that the 2.0 was coming at some point in the year, I was excited to get a chance to look at it. And then when I finally did, I was pissed. I went into this review with some positive outlook. Okay, I'm going to go into this. And much like any review I look at, I'm like, okay, I've got to look at it objectively as much as I can, whether I built it, whether I didn't build it. That's going to come up again later. But I have to look at it objectively as what's in front of me, how does it articulate, what does it look like, what are the difficulties, if I'm having problems with it. That's what I have to look at when I'm reviewing things. That's what I look at every single day when I do this job. And when it came to this kit, it looked fantastic. The articulation was a little wonky. Some of that comes to gimmicks that are kind of add hitches, like with the knees. The fact that stuff was falling apart was a massive influence on that. If you go back and you watch any of my reviews where I really have a negative opinion of the kit, it's usually because things are broken, things are falling apart, there's difficulties that just flat out shouldn't be there. Some of those things come up with kits that I didn't even build. Some of them come up with kits I do build. So that's what it comes down to. Now, as for addressing the issues with this kit, I went ahead and I glued in the V-fins. As you can see here, I glued the V-fin on the regular head and the transforming head. And I also went ahead and glued on the parts of the backpack that were being very troublesome, one that kept popping out. And I figured out when I got a closer look at it when taking it mildly apart to glue it, it's the way they're assembled, the wedge shape of it. When you push it in there, and if you move anything at all, they just cause a wedge effect and go blink, and they pop it out. So hopefully the little bit of glue that I put in there will help keep all those things together. Mind you, it's not my kit. I talked to David about it this morning, and I even told him, it was like, because he had expressed to me that, yeah, the V-fins fall off and the hands fall out real quick, or real easy, like the fingers, the same thing I was having problems with articulating weapons. He said those all fall out. So that was me. This is me addressing that. So I went ahead, I fixed the V-fin, I fixed the backpack. The hands, I can't do anything about those. However, right here, I can go ahead and address my actual mistakes from yesterday. Alright, so, you know, obviously I went ahead and I glued in the V-fins. They're still drying, but that's going to be an improvement. I did the same thing on the regular head as you saw before. Though the normal head does stay in a little bit better than the than the transforming head. Now, of course, the main thing that I did screw up in the review is the VSBRs. That was my bad. That was just me forgetting the fact that these things can be held a certain way. So I had it incorrectly transformed. Well, not incorrectly, but I had it to where that handle was dropped down, thinking that while mounted, it couldn't be held that way. And I am correct in that. However, I am dumb in the fact that that's the handle he's supposed to use. And I even saw that when I was reviewing it and didn't really catch it. I mean, like, I guess you're supposed to make sure you really kind of crook the arm, and he can totally hold it by that handle. Of course, if you pull the back half out, that's your full transformation. And the main purpose for that, I guess, is for dual wielding otherwise. So if for some reason he's holding it like this, and I don't think this is the hand you're supposed to use for holding these. I think it's the other ones. I could be wrong. Let me pop the fingers off. Now, guys, I will say I still really don't like these hands. I mean, like, they're not a good design. They can hold the weapons, as I said, but they're just, it's a poor idea. And I guess this one isn't meant for this. It's probably meant just for the beam rifle as it is. So if we grab one of these hands that are generally for like the beam sabers and stuff, I will say the handle's a bit loose, but it needs to be able to pivot with the best of them. Come on. This is one reason I really don't like hands like this, is the struggle to get things plugged back in. So especially when you're working around a thumb. Thumb is the worst thing ever. And look, there goes the forearms again. Now, I don't know if that's David's fault. I don't know if most of what I don't like about this kit is David's fault. And I've said that. You know, he's a decent builder, but just this thing is incredibly wonky. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I guess you're supposed to use the other hands. I don't know. But either way, I was wrong. I did say that, you know, he couldn't hold these things the way that he's supposed to. I was wrong in that. I admit it. I figured it out, like, after you guys were telling me. I was like, oh, yeah, that's there. And, of course, even going back and watching the 1.0 review, I definitely caught that. I do wish these could pivot out a little bit more. I mean, you can use a lot of the forearm rotation and the wrist and stuff like that to really get a hand on it. And I'm sure it's probably easier than I'm making it out to be. But that's kind of how these happen sometimes. Sometimes they're just a pain. There, finally got a hand hooked in it. I don't think I can get the thumb on it, but I'm going to go ahead and fold this one away, as it's not necessary for what I'm currently doing. And now he can really do that. The face is still not quite holding together. But he can hold the thing. Like I said, I was wrong. I apologize for that. That was my stupidity. And of course, in my frustration yesterday, I just wasn't willing to accept a lot of things. And then I admit it. I was angry. I was frustrated with this thing. Also, I was going on very, very little sleep. I reviewed this thing as early in the day as I could, and I had less than 3 hours of sleep Sunday night. That's not really an excuse, but it definitely led to a lot of my frustration yesterday. Not just with this kit. I was having problems with a lot of other things. But lack of sleep will definitely skew your opinions of things. I'll say that. I still wish like this was just a better hand. I don't like these. Now the original hands, the 1.0 hands, are terrible. They don't even hold the guns. So, you know, that's a great argument for why that's not good. And I absolutely agree. Let's see, like, I mean, maybe I'm using the wrong hands. Am I using the wrong hands for this? I don't know. But, you know, this thing tabs into the handle for the regular rifle. But either way, yeah, apparently, just briefly going over the instructions again, obviously I missed the handles in the first place. But yeah, you are supposed to use these hands, and for some reason it's just still giving me a hard time. But, you know, Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's just my stupidity. I'm not angry at it. I'm more angry that I missed it, to be totally honest. Because I feel dumb. I feel dumb having missed that. Like, just, it's something it can definitely do. Okay, after quite a bit of finagling, obviously he's not really meant to hold it square. Obviously it's supposed to be a pretty loose fit, but I got it in there. And apparently one thing I totally missed, I didn't even catch this, because I don't think there would be a way I could catch it. You can drop the crotch down, and then the hips can flop forward, so you can get kind of a laid back look like that. So it's amazing what really taking a look at the instructions can do for you. I know that sounds really ridiculous, but once again, guys, you know, frustrated, tired, and this face will not stay shut. It doesn't tab in or anything, it just swings open every time. Now, I will say, this is probably one of the downsides to it. The old one, you know, it had its flaws when it came to the face. You know, the faceplate just rolled up inside the head. That was problematic only because of the eyes. It would definitely cause a problem there. This one, it's tiny and it's fiddly. You know, those hinges are incredibly small. I like the idea of the gimmick, but it is so wonky in its actual execution. See, like, I can't get that out now. So I can flip that out. Maybe that was the problem. I was fighting it the hard way. Close the face. And it's just, I wish there was a way to clip it in there. But I think that this guy needs a bigger version of itself. I think that would be cool. I don't, you know, Perfect Grade or something like that would probably be really good, because you could get a lot of the small stuff taken care of properly, you know. I will say I still don't like this. I don't like this double hinge out gimmick. I actually prefer the slide out gimmick from the 1.0. I mean, this, I guess this has its merits, but I don't like it the same. I mean, even having to take the top of the shoulder off and stuff like that from the 1.0 was dumb, but I liked the way it was executed. I guess that's a difference right there in and of itself. I like the way things were executed better on the old one. This one has some engineering that is definitely better. That's without a doubt. It has some advancements. I like the way the shield does a lot better. That is definitely an improvement there. I'm trying to fight this hand here. These hands, they're just bad. This is one of those things that Bandai will have to work on making hands that are like really, really good. Like, for instance, if you've got to hold it like this, give it a really kinked arm. You know, almost all of the other kits that I've done recently that have to hold a large cannon at its side like that, they have a really, like, 45-degree kinked wrist to make it work. And honestly, that would be a huge, huge thing. This thing would have definitely been better to just have full-on swappable hands. Like, not just the fingertips and stuff like that. Just pull them out like you would in HG. Have hands that are specifically for each purpose, and just give it to us that way. Alright, so looking at it now, with definitely refreshed eyes, because I actually got to sleep last night, it's still a very good looking kit, guys. It looks fantastic. Don't get me wrong. I still think the face gimmick is a bad design. I think that could have been handled a little bit better. Those really tiny, finicky hinges. The same thing with the shoulders, that fold out hinge. A sliding mechanism is always good, you know. Or the way that the face used to flip up inside the helmet, kind of unicorn style. Also, I think is a superior design. And I think they could have executed that the same way here. Sometimes, what is it, Occam's razor? Sometimes the simplest answer is the best, or something like that. Simplest answer is the right one. So, in some ways, the new engineering is a little overdone. Just a little, you know. And the fact that I went into this, I'm looking at the kit finished, right? To hopefully convince myself that I still want to buy it. I wanted to buy this kit David just happened to get it before me. I had planned on buying this kit already, doing the build, reviewing it, even doing a custom paint job on it. And because I needed a Master Grade Monday for this week, David said, hey, I just finished this one. Do you want to look at it? I'm like, sure. Why not? Saves me a build. I've been building like crazy for other things, so I needed a pre-built kit. So he let me look at it. And based on my experience while reviewing it, it really soiled my feelings towards it. It really did. And that's the same thing you guys experience on your end. You guys see me build a kit, whether or not you've built it yourself or not, and you get to hear my opinion of it, whether it's good or not, and that can influence you on whether or not you're going to build something. How many people in the comments very recently, especially with the cross silhouettes and stuff like that, say, I wasn't really wanting to build this, or I was on the fence, and now, thanks to your review, I want to build that. Well, it's the same concept here. I got to see somebody else build it. I got to hear their frustrations. I got to see their frustrations firsthand, and it changed my opinion. It changed my thoughts on what I wanted to have. So now, addressing those of you like this, you are wrong. You are absolutely wrong. And I don't think you understand what reviewing really is. Not having built this, I can look at it extremely objectively, because I have no stakes in it. There's nothing in it for me. I didn't build it, so all I can see is the end result. And the end result really put me off. I've reviewed many kits, especially this year, that weren't mine, that I didn't build. I've reviewed Miss Shoki's kits. I didn't build them. I may have been there while she built them, but I didn't build it. All I can do is report on the articulation, the gimmicks, and if she had any problems. That's what I did here. Articulation, gimmicks, the way it looks, if there's any problems. It's the same thing I do every single day, whether I built it, whether I bought it, whether it's a figure, whether it transforms, anything. It doesn't matter. Telling me that I can't have an opinion on it because I didn't build it is absolutely incorrect. And saying that that opinion doesn't matter because I didn't build it, you are absolutely incorrect. That opinion matters because I didn't build it. I don't have an attachment to it. David built it, and he had the same problems with it. Does he like the kit because he built it? Maybe. Does he hate it because he built it? I don't know. I didn't get a chance to ask him that. Did he have the same problems? Of course. Now, is this kit going to have the same problems that Krosama, Mechagekko2, Zakurilius, is it going to have the same problems they have? No. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't watch their reviews. I don't always watch a review on a kit that I didn't build. A lot of times I watch a review of a kit I did build because I want to see if those people had that problem, or if those people had anything issues that I had. If I'm the first person so far to review this kit that had issues and didn't like it, then bully for me, because wow, you know, there's a reason that this one had a problem and maybe the other ones didn't. And that didn't come down to me building it. It came down to David building it. Maybe it's mistakes he made, something like that. Is the loose V-fin a universal problem? I don't know. But if other people have had this problem, sure. Are the wonky hands a problem on this one and the 1.0? Yes. You know, is the stuff popping off the back due to the wedge shape a problem for everybody? Maybe. Maybe they just haven't encountered it. But telling me that because I didn't build it, I can't have an opinion on it is absolutely incorrect. You are wrong. Period. Because everything I do all day long, whether I built it or not, is form an opinion on what is in front of me. That's all I can do. Also, is anybody else having a problem with the cockpit just sliding open whenever it wants to? Because this one definitely does. The point of reviewing anything is to try to be as objective as possible with the thing that's in front of you. And that's what I do. That's what I did with this. It made me mad. Maybe that was more on the fact that I was tired and I didn't really look into it enough. I did go over the instructions a bit before I did the review. Clearly I missed a couple things. Like I missed the whole swing out hips. That's actually pretty neat. Not gonna lie, that's actually a very cool way to get an ab crunch without having an ab crunch. So the torso doesn't do it, the hips do. And actually I kind of like that versus the way some of the other like drop down hip designs work. This actually is pretty neat to give it a cool flying back pose, which is probably going to be the thumbnail if I can get the backpack and everything to correctly do it. Now when it comes to this is a cheap piece of plastic. Now you can use this, you can put this guy on a normal action base with normal crotch peg. That's fine if you want to do that. You can do it with the Action Base 5. I think that's what this is. I think it's a 5. I just don't like the way that this connects to this. Everything about it feels cheap. And it is. This is super cheap plastic. That's just what it is. I couldn't imagine what the knockoff version would be. And yes, addressing those people who did tell me that this was for connecting action bases together. That's what I was sort of thinking, but it wasn't clicking in my head. Once again, dead tired brain. As for this person, there's a big difference between reviewing something live and in the moment and reviewing something and then doing a voiceover afterwards. A lot of guys do the voiceover. I never have. I don't like doing it. I don't go off a script. Like this, a lot of what's going on in this particular video is mildly scripted because I wrote down some of my thoughts. I recorded some of my thoughts while I was at work so that I didn't lose that idea. So I didn't stumble on those words as much. Do I stumble on the thoughts? Do I pause sometimes to think about what I'm saying? Yeah. It's called being a person. I don't like doing the voiceover. I like being in the moment because I can't really, to me, I can't show you the things that are happening properly if it's after the fact. So if I just have the thing posed on the screen, not really moving, or I'm only moving it for the camera while talking over it, I don't function that way. I'm sorry. If you don't like it that way, everybody's different. That's fine. It's not for everybody. It really isn't. So if you don't like the way I review things, I'm sorry. You don't have to watch them. There's plenty of other guys who do it the other way. Doesn't mean they're better than me. Doesn't mean I'm worse than them. It's just a different way of doing things, man. So I'm sorry you don't like it. It is what it is. I'm sorry that you guys didn't like that I didn't like this. But then again, it got way more comments than almost anything in recent days. It takes me hating a kit to get you guys to even communicate in the comments in a real sense. So maybe I need to hate things more often. I don't know. Or maybe it's just having a difference of opinion. And yeah, always liking everything gets old, if I'm honest. It's like, if I'm just constantly praising everything, if I don't look for the problems, if I don't highlight the problems, that's going to get real old. That's going to get real boring. And especially if that opinion is shared with everybody. A difference of opinion actually does produce conversation. It gives us a reason to talk back and forth. It's the whole reason for me to do this video in the first place. Now, did fixing this and going back over things change my mind on it? I don't know. I really don't. It's still pretty cool. It's still got problems. Once again, does that come down to David's build? Maybe. But for the most part, I still really kind of want to build the 1.0. I was left with that feeling when I did that review that I wanted to build that kit. That I wanted to customize and build that kit. And I was left with the excitement for this thing to come out. Is it better than the old one? Eh. Does it have equally as many problems as the old one? Yeah. Even if they're different ones, it does have problems. I mean, like, just the assembly problem with the hip that David had. And I told him I fixed the hips, and I don't even think he realized it wasn't wrong. He probably just said, screw it, leave it like it is. Probably didn't ever realize that those hips need to be pushed in. Maybe more of you have figured that part out. Maybe none of you have ever encountered that problem. But as I stated, you have to look, when you're doing this job, you can only look at the thing that's in front of you. And that's what I did. I looked at the thing in front of me, and I didn't like what I saw. Rather, I didn't like what happened. It's like, I liked what I saw. This thing would look great on a shelf. Absolutely will look great. And if you actually get the hands to really work, that's even better. I think that this thing needs about 2 or 3 more steps. A couple more things that it could use to really bump it up and make it a little bit better. The connection here, the ball joint and stuff like that for the Vispers, I think that does need to have a little bit more articulation. I think a fixed joint hand for the gun itself would have been better than the way these swappable fingers work. I think that the forearms fall off way too easy. I don't understand why that happens. It's got to be, I don't know if it's a polycap. I don't know if this one had polycaps or not. I didn't build it, obviously. But it has to do with the connection inside the forearm just being a little too weak and just going boop and falling off when you rotate it. It's just, it is what it is. You do have to keep snugging it up. I think the light up gimmick, hopefully we can get a hold of one of those lighting kits to actually light this thing. I know David really does want that. I like the engineering that and a thought that went into making it into the base. I just think that this is a slightly dumb way to have done it. I mean, it's a bespoke thing, but I bet they're going to find a way to use this on a lot more of kits similar to this. And that'll be cool. I don't know that I want to buy this one, to be honest. As for whether you should, I don't know. You know, I said don't buy it. I said skip it. I say if you can get your hands on one, and I say this a lot with action figures and toys and stuff like that. And this is an experiment in that idea that if you didn't build it, but you really want to know what it's like, not just the build, because a build is a build. It is what it is, whether it's difficult or not. It comes down to the end result. Are you building for the experience of the building, or are you building for the end result? Well, let's just, like, there can be a pleasant building experience, sure. But in this case, I didn't have that. All I had was the end result. Once again, looks good, has problems. Has a lot less problems now with some glue. But as for whether you guys should buy this, that's up to you. If my opinion didn't sway you one way or the other, I'm not really backtracking. I'm not going to backstep on the things I said yesterday. I made the mistakes. I corrected those mistakes. It still has a sour taste in my mouth. But it still looks really cool. Like if somebody just handed me this done like as it is now, even with the fixes and stuff like that, in a cool pose on the thing, said, here you go. I'd be like, that's pretty sweet. Cool. And I put it on a shelf and I never touch it. A thought I did have earlier that occurred to me, and it comes down to y'all's opinion on whether or not I can have an opinion on building it. If I built it and I had all of these problems, same as David did, I would have been even more angry than I was. Think about that. If I put the time and effort, knowing my building level, mind you, I consider myself mildly above average, if that. You know, I make some mistakes, a lot of people do, but I also don't go to the nines on everything if I can help it. But if I had spent the hours building this to get the end result that I had in my hand yesterday, I would have been so much more angry, guys. Think about that. Like, I'm calmer now, I'm rested, I've gone through the effort to fix this thing and take a little more understanding in what I screwed up yesterday. But if I had really put in the effort, like David did, like, there's got to be some, and I wanted his comments on this too, whether or not he was happy with the end result because it was falling apart. The hands were a struggle. The V-fins were falling off constantly. The face, I think he even told me not to really mess with the face if I could avoid it. So if that's the end result you come out with and you're not happy with it, like really not happy with it, you know, you're going to regret buying it. And you're going to tell people the problems you had. Why is that different? You know? If the end result still comes down to it and you still have the same problems. Like, I didn't realize the sticker back here was actually peeling off really badly for some reason. I think some of these stickers got dirty. I don't even understand how. I don't know if he had to peel them and replace them. This kit, and I will say this out loud, this kit would do well to have water slides or even some dry transfers. Because these, like, straight up stickers, some of them really do suck. I can see them peeling off now. They're the same kind of Tetron, or whatever they're called, base stickers that wing kits come with. And they might look okay, but like I said, a lot of these are peeling off right now. And this thing hasn't seen a whole lot of action, so to speak. But guys, if you're still mad about yesterday, let me know in the comments down below. But try not to be rude. You know, some of you guys were a bit rude in my reaction. Let's just be honest here. You know, my opinion hasn't ultimately changed, but I've calmed down, I've realized some of my mistakes, and I fixed some of the problems. My opinion is still my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I don't have to agree with you. That's how this whole game works. All I can do is tell you guys repeatedly over and over that what's in my hand is what I'm reviewing. Oh yeah, I forgot about the front skirts popping off. That was really annoying. That annoys me regardless. But rotating the hips up actually kind of solves that problem. So a lot of the problems are fixed with just rotating the hips up. I'm in a better mood about it today, but I'm still on the fence. I may have backstepped away from never buying it. Maybe, I don't know. I really do want to get the 1.0. One, because it's probably cheaper. Two, because I really like that cool Reflexa base. And I never got a chance to look at that because Nick never had one. But as it goes, this is, I guess it's an update video. Not really, it's like not a change of mind video. But yeah, so that I wanted to communicate this today because obviously the comments were getting pretty ridiculous. I try to have conversation with you guys on some of it, but it's really hard to type out all my thoughts. So this is my new thoughts on the kit and my thoughts on what happened after that review. Honestly, guys, I want more interaction with you guys, and I don't want to have to make a controversial video to have that. Not a lot of people comment, honestly. And you know, maybe that's my fault. Maybe I share too much. But I have a lot of work to do today, so I'm going to get to it. I have a ton of reviews to film. I have a ton of reviews to edit, including this, which is going to come out first. Guys, I hope you guys have a great day. Like, subscribe, all the things. Or hit that dislike button if you really didn't agree with me, I guess. Because a lot of you guys really didn't agree with me. But hey, like I said, it's a free world. You don't have to agree with me. I don't have to agree with every reviewer out there. And also, everybody does their own thing. It is what it is. So, catch you guys later. Remember, as always, to keep on building. And try to build this to its best degree.